Radio. Voicemail at 786-2737-GTR.
My name is Bryk, and I'm reprising my role as the father in Far Cry New Dawn.
My name is Olivia Alexander, and I'm a narrative designer for Far Cry New Dawn.
All right, so the father is back, huh? Kind of. Kind of.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back. All right, he's back. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of people that don't know anything about the father. Do they have to play the first game in order to know more about the story, or to play this before they play this one, or what?
People do not have to play Far Cry 5 to really get the best out of Far Cry New Dawn. It's a standalone direct sequel to Far Cry 5, but there's a lot of emphasis on the idea of standalone. Someone can sort of pick up New Dawn and jump into this new world and know that there was a lot of stuff that happened before, but it's all very engaging immediately, and you don't feel like you're missing out on anything.
And thematically, that's actually kind of interesting with New Dawn, because some of the characters, this is their first experience of the world. You know, like they have no memory of the cult and of Eden's Gate. So their experience of the father will be completely different than someone who has played Far Cry 5 and has that whole back history. So art imitates life, or art imitates art in some way, because some of the characters, again, it's their brand new world. They just think of the cult as sort of a benevolent group of, people that have gone back to nature and renounced technology. But other people that were around in Hope County see a more malevolent force.
Their memories are much longer.
Yeah. And there's a lot of characters too that is returning back from the previous game. I noticed during the presentation, I was like, okay, I remember that character, but now they're a lot older. So how long is between from the 17 years?
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of changes. There's a whole new generation in the game that doesn't know anything that happened back then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's sort of there's sort of three main factions.
When I get closer to the mic.
Sorry, there's three main factions of people, and that kind of generational divide is very apparent, I think, in all three factions. You have the father has a really specific relationship to people in New Eden that are sort of maybe a little newer to the world. The Carmina, a specific survival example, and her family. Her family's sort of perpetually kind of bummed about everything, but Carmina thinks the world is beautiful. And then also the twins, they were very much a product of this world, and they had a different way of seeing it than their own father did. That sort of thing.
So how important was it for you, man? Because you had a great experience working on the previous game.
Right.
Any changes on this one? Is still the same father, or we're going to see him like more angry?
Well, no, it's interesting because I leave Far Cry 5 as a broken man. The people that I loved most have been taken from me. A world that I imagined has been destroyed. And I think as a person, that's always fascinating when we go through a dark night of the soul, when we have a cataclysmic emotional moment. How do we reimagine ourselves? How do we take all those broken pieces and build something worthwhile? And that's what I have an opportunity to do in this game, is that the father emerged from the bunker and he was able to build the perfect world that he imagined. A world where a community where we've renounced technology. We have no mechanized weaponry. It's a world of peace and community and harmony. But underneath that, for me, is a sadness, because you can't always outrun your past. You can live with it. You can carry it with you gracefully. But the pain is almost forever. The scar tissue of the experience I had. So there's a weight and a sadness to the father, I think. But also still the responsibility of building a paradise on earth.
I think mainly the difference between the two is you can see how far-reaching this antagonist faction really is. Like they have chapters and groups of their people all across the country, and they sort of go to these places, and they even more than the world has already changed from sort of a global nuclear event, they change it even further to something in their own image. For example, one of the expeditions we have is a carnival, a defunct carnival in the bayou. And, it sort of was once this place of kind of family fun for everyone. And now there's sort of dead alligators hung up on the carousel. And it's just very emblematic of what the highwaymen think is funny or admirable to sort of mark their territory.
Greg, the last time we got to see each other, we recorded the podcast Far Cry, last one. That was a pretty cool experience, man. That was really cool. And you were into the character and everything. A lot of people loved it, man. Can you do like a little prayer or something, like, father style, if it's okay? I don't know. 'Cause I just love the way he's really getting into the character.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because so much of my experience creating the Father was the sermonizing and was reaching people.
Yeah.
And I think the world is still populated by the lost and the frightened and the alone. And New Eden is a home. And it's a home on the outside, but it's also a home for your heart. And I think if you follow the Father, paradise can be born out of the ashes.
See, he's really good, man. It's really good. Cool. Anything else? Anything new that we're gonna get to see in the game that was not in the previous one too? Like, I noticed a lot of the characters, story. Anything else you would like to mention to in the game?
Yeah, well, I mean, there is that kind of global aspect. Expeditions are something that we've never had in a Far Cry game before. The idea of it's a world of scarcity, pretty much. So the very way in which the player explores the world, both narratively and functionally, and like mechanically, in order to sort of get the most out of the experience, to sort of get like better equipment and make your own people stronger, you have to explore, and it becomes a joy. It's never like a chore or anything like that. Exploring the world and how it's evolved is, I think, a very sort of unique experience to Far Cry New Dawn.
Yeah.
I would also say that the twins are a big evolution on what is new in Far Cry. We have not one, but two.
Yeah, they're
villains.
no joke, man. No joke. Yeah.
They are, what's the word? Infamous.
Infamous. Okay.
I've heard a lot
Cool.
this week. They're the infamous twins. And essentially from a Far Cry standpoint, they changed the dynamic of what an antagonist can be in relation to the player. They themselves have a familial dynamic and represent kind of this united front against the player. It is a raising of stakes and a raising of challenge, both thematically and mechanically. Something that we've never seen in Far Cry before.
Yeah, I noticed the game is very colorful. Very colorful. I get this vibe that you could tell that the world definitely changed while exploring the game and stuff. But I noticed that for me to find out more about the Father, I have to go to like certain locations to know more about the history and why take it to that route instead of, okay, here's an introduction, here's the Father. Why take it that I have to make that choice and go to like a certain location to find out more about him? Well,
before the Highwaymen arrived, the survivors and New Eden were sort of neighbors. They had their own territories, but the borders were blurred. When the Highwaymen arrived, they pushed both of them sort of back into their own little bastions. So like the survivors have prosperity, and then New Eden has their own sort of last bastion against everything else. So they have sort of they've circled their own wagons, so to speak, against this new and like what they see as very sinful force from outside of Hope County. It's very distressing to them because the idea is that the collapse wiped the world of this exact kind of sinner, and all of a sudden they are here. They're this aberration. There's something that they're not supposed to be here. So they sort of circle their wagons and fight back in their own very specific way. Yeah.
And Greg, for those that are listening to this right now, they should check out this game, man. Definitely.
I think that the thing that the Far Cry franchise does exceptionally well is creating a dynamic world that's incredible to explore and engage with. And there's also, they've created indelible villains throughout. And I felt really fortunate to be a part of that lineage in 5. And the twins take their place with force in this game. They are so dynamic and charismatic and dangerous and alive. Like there's such a madness to what they're doing that I think is going to be extraordinary for the player to have to navigate in this new world, because it is a new world. There's no map that tells you what's happened before. You're creating things in the present, and you have to live with your choices into the future.
All right. I just want to say thanks for
Thank
the interview,
you.
and it was a lot of fun.
Great seeing you again.
Yeah, for sure.